So for many, 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 many years now, 10 years straight, I've been trying to get some of my family to peacefully have a conversation about my health and my mother passing away, how she passed away, her actions before she passed away, what she did to me. I want to have a peaceful, calm conversation about that so I can get the help I need. This started at age 7. I tried to bring it up for 25 years. We had family members who saw something wrong and tried to, hey, there's red flags everywhere, pay attention, something's wrong, and they were ignored. Now I'm 31. My father's still alive. My mother drank and pilled herself to death. I think it was the guilt. I have texted my father, and I've spent about 5 years just trying to be nice and slow about the fact that I'm dying because of their choices, and that I've lived and suffered, and I'm still suffering today because of their choices. And I'm trying to be nice about it and just give them the information they know. Like, Dad, do you remember that night where Mom was on the emergency room phone and said that they didn't know what they were talking about, and then I just passed out? And then when I came back to, we were at the doctor's, and I was talking about how I couldn't feel my body. You remember how that got repeated at the doctor's again? You remember how Mom said she wanted that everybody needed to be pilled up, that my brother Tim needed to be pilled up, that everybody needs pills? Do you remember how she gave me drugs like a pink pill on a plane that weren't my prescriptions? Do you remember how she said that it was normal to give extra medicines as punishments? Do you remember these things that happened in front of you? And I try to be nice about that. So once when he remembers the things that happened in front of him, then maybe I can go over some of the things that went in front of Tim, went in front of my nephew, went in front of me. Then we can go through what she did, what paperwork is out there, what records, what paper trail, how I get the help I need. But we don't even get step one. 25 years of this, me shaking in front of him, having seizures, bloody knees, falling down, slices here, my whole bone, teachers trying to just move me from state to state to state to state to state to state to state. Just traffic me around so I can't get the help I need. That's what happened during my childhood. Now I'm just trying to have a polite conversation. I'm just trying to be peaceful about it. But here's the thing. When my father goes to church and the priest goes, now go in peace and love one another. My father goes out to eat and decides to go on a beach. Meanwhile, I'm dead in the woods suffering from his choices. He does not go in peace. He's not even willing to have a peaceful conversation with his son to just try to make sure he doesn't get hurt. He'd rather I get hurt and he be able to party and drink and have fun than go in peace and follow Jesus. And this is what bothers me. I always thought growing up that he believed in God, he believed in Jesus, and he followed Jesus in a straight line. But I have given him 112 opportunities to have a peaceful conversation about this. And every single time he runs away or says something hurtful or says something evil and lets evil into his heart instead. Instead of asking for strength from God, he asks for happiness from the devil. He goes, I want happiness from the devil over strength from God. And so just last week I texted him, when you're ready to have a conversation, I am very, 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 very sick. I have 5 doctors working on me, and I really need you to have a peaceful conversation with me. So please call me back when you get this message. And it was a text message and a voicemail. You think he got back to me in the last 25 years about this? No, absolutely not. When the priest said go in peace and love one another, he just decided, no, I'm going to sink into the devil, and I'm going to ask the devil for happiness, and that's what I'm going to do. Screw this go in peace and love one another and ask God for strength. No, let's not listen to my priests, and let's not listen to Jesus. Let's listen to the devil in my heart telling me that I should be worrying about my own happiness, and just that. My happiness comes first. My children's lives, their futures, their children's children, their children's children, the fact that they might not be able to have children thanks to my choices, the fact that my son can't even walk and he might need a wheelchair soon for my choices. No, that would be too right to fix. That would be too following Jesus to have a conversation about that. Instead, he wants to follow his happiness and evil. Same thing with his wives. He influences wives into say evil things. Like for instance, my older brother lost his wife, kids, and had to get them back. And my father's third wife told him, now this is a 60-year-old person with a 2-year degree. This isn't no child, my brother. This is somebody who is old enough to be my father. And she goes, why don't you kill yourself by slicing yourself up your arm all the way up? That way you kill yourself the right way. That doesn't sound like somebody who's following Jesus. That sounds like somebody who's following evil and getting happiness from the devil. That is not somebody who worked their way up with following Jesus. That's somebody who steps on people's throats and worries only about their own happiness. And that worries me a lot because I really need that health care. I can't go 25 years without health care while everybody else gets it. This is wrong. This is very wrong. I should have never been trafficked around the country blocking me from getting health care. And I needed diagnosis. The doctors need to know what was happening to me from age 5 to 20 that needs to be documented. But instead, I got all this crazy nonsense. And I can't even find the paperwork from Abe in Westford. No, they hid it. They covered it up. They transferred me to fucking 6 different states. And they made it so I can't drive. They didn't want me driving because if I could drive, then maybe I could fix this. So they had no interest in teaching me how to drive. I had a learner's permit for 2 years, and they have made it very clear that they do not want to pay attention to any of my shakes on my arms or legs. That's why I didn't want to drive, as I knew I could get somebody hurt. But they didn't want me to drive because they didn't want this fixed. I asked them several times to show me how to drive, and for the whole 2 years, not one lesson. Not even practice in a parking lot, nothing. And this is the way it always went. Because they don't want me to have the ability to fix this. They don't want me having health care. If I had a car, then maybe they would have to take responsibility for their actions. If I had health care, maybe they would have to take responsibility for their actions. If they follow Jesus, then they might have to take responsibility for their actions. If they actually talk to maybe like the government or an official about what was going on with me, they might have to take responsibility for their actions. And that would be too righteous. No, it's much easier to follow the devil and ask for an easy life and then just let me suffer in someplace else in the corner for 25 years. And then when I bring stuff up, you just ignore it, say it's nonsense, so that way you can continue living in your fantasy. Oh, my mother's beating me with a ruler at age 10? Nope, just go in fantasy zone. Oh, my organs are shutting down and I'm on the kitchen floor and I'm being brought in an ambulance at age 12? That's all right, put them on Vicodin. Oh, my mother's popping my Vicodins? That's all right, she's an adult. Oh, my mother's drinking and popping Xanaxes? That's all right, she's an adult. Oh, your kid's acting suicidal on medication that says suicidal thoughts. He's on 12 medication. He's hungover in the morning. He's vomiting for a year straight. He says he has stomach issues for the last 10 years. He can't move his legs. His legs are bouncing around by themselves. He can't aim his arm. He seems to have coordination issues. No, that's all right. It might interfere with our happiness. And this is the problem. When the priest tells my father to go in peace, follow Jesus in a straight line, and love one another, he decides to follow the devil and follow his own happiness. He can't be peaceful. No. He gets mad when he thinks he might lose something he wants. If he has to take responsibility and he might lose something because of a choice that he made, that's not okay. No, he needs to blame me. He needs to put the blame on me. There's no way it could be his fault. No way it could be my mother's fault. No, it's my fault so he can be happy. And that's just feeding into evil. That's just feeding into the devil. Please look out for that. I've done it myself. I've fed into the devil. For instance, I had a disabled man who had that mental capacity of a 7-year-old, but he likes to tell stories, lie for attention. So one day he's telling me that he's having trouble breathing, and this is when we first moved in. And I knew the air wasn't good in here, but I can't believe him, so I told him, Raymond, you're fine. Stop turning the heat on 85 and opening 3 windows in that small room. That's going to bring the bill up. Now I feel bad because I was feeding into what was easy for me. It was easier to pay a smaller phone bill. It was easier to tell him that than to really look into what was going on. But now I've looked into it. There's a real toxic mold. I already knew that. Not everybody who spends any time in here gets sick. So I fed into the easiness. I wanted it to be easy. So I told him, no, you're fine. I was wrong. Now, luckily, I caught my ways right after, and I asked him more questions, and I brought him to the hospital. But I fed into easy. I wanted my life to be easy, and I almost hurt another person in the process. I almost convinced somebody that they weren't sick and to just forget about it because I wanted everything to be easy for me. This is the same thing that my father does. He wants his life to be easy, and if other people have to get hurt in the process, that's okay. And it's not okay. That's feeding into the devil. Lots of people do it. They're willing to sacrifice other people's health, money, lives, just for their own happiness. Just like the landlord not putting salt in the building or a light bulb. It saves him time. He doesn't have to call the maintenance. He doesn't have to change the light bulbs. He doesn't have to pay as much in electricity. It makes it easier on him. Makes it easier on the landlord to not change the light bulbs and not put salt during winter. But then he puts the hardness on us. Then we slip down and have to go to the hospital. We get trash on our clothing and have to wash our clothing. We fall down the hallway and we have to go to the hospital and pay big bills. He's making his life easy to push it on us and make our lives harder. This is exactly what my father's very good at. He's very good at making his and my mother's life easier, meanwhile trying to make my life harder. And this is feeding into the devil. He's not asking for strength. He's not following Jesus in a straight line. He's not going and loving one another. No, he's loving himself, and then trying to make himself easier, make his life easier, have fun, make my life happy, and that's fine. Everybody should be happy, but you ask God for strength to get there. You don't sacrifice somebody else's situation to make yours better. And this is what I'm seeing everywhere. Everybody's out for number one, and they don't care what they do in the process.